Glad you could join me here today, as always. My background's a little wrinkled today, isn't it? I need to straighten it out, I think. Oh well, we'll just go with it. Hell with it. All right, smash that like button and subscribe. Glad you could join me here today. Welcome to my 1,417 subscribers. Glad you are here. Today's topic is going to be, remember to smash the like button and subscribe. Check out my books on Amazon, Coming Back Home, The True Adventure of Mark Daniels, and The Power is Within. And you're watching this on YouTube, you can check me out on Instagram at Mark's Inspiration. Excuse me. All right, today's topic is going to be love. Everybody wants to be in love. Do they want to be in love? Or do they want to be in lust? Do they know the difference? I know in my life I've been confused sometimes about what's love and what. Hello, Paulina, in the chat. Welcome. Surprised you're awake. Actually, Paulina, where is the cleaning lady? Is she coming to clean today? Because our house is a mess. Quite the disaster. But I love my kids, so I tolerate that. Back to the topic. What is love? Sometimes people say they're in love. They may even tell a girl that they're in love. But they really just want her. Maybe what they should say is, I want you. Or I want you to act like I want you to. I want you to be who I want you to be. But they use the word love so easily, frivolously. And they really don't know what is behind the word love. There are different forms of love. So let me see. I have the dictionary definition of love here this morning. The Oxford definition. And let's see what it has to say. Love. Number one, an intense feeling of deep affection. Babies fill parents with feelings of love. I think that's something we've got confused in society today, at least in Western society, that love is a feeling. And as most of you know, women are more moved by emotions and feelings than men are. Now it's like 75% of divorces are initiated by the women. And how many of you have heard this? I just don't feel like I'm in love with him anymore. I just don't feel the love. Well, we have the honeymoon stage, the feelings of deep infatuation, attraction, lust, what we think is love. And guess what? That wears off after about 6 months or a year. Sometimes sooner. Excuse me. Sometimes sooner, sometimes later. And guess what? It's my opinion that that's where the real love begins. Do you think I feel like getting up every morning and taking care of my kids? I've been doing that for about 11 or 12 years. No, I don't feel like it. Do I feel like taking them here, taking them there? Do I feel like going to the grocery store every night and buying food? No, I don't. But I do that because I love my kids. Now, that doesn't have anything to do with how I feel about them. I can be very angry with my children, but still know that I love them. And as I said, that's where I think we're confused here in the Western world, at least here in the U.S. We don't feel like we're in love. That has very little to do with it. That's the, I'll go on to the definition of what type of love that's called. I think it's eros, maybe. I'm not sure, but I'll read it, and I will inform you of that. So the real love begins, I believe, after the honeymoon stage wears off and you don't feel like you're in love. As a man, you get up and you go to work so you can provide for your wife. If she's a stay-at-home mom with a child, you get up and go to work so you can provide for your wife and your children. Do you feel like getting up every morning and going to work? Of course you don't. But you do it because you love your wife and your child and you want to provide for them. So you do what love does. You take the action. In my opinion, love is more of a verb. It's an action. Many years ago, when I hit a bottom in my life, I was about 30 years old, well, probably 29. But I reached out for help, and a couple guys stood out in the January night of 1991 and talked to me for about a half an hour, maybe an hour, and it was freezing. And do you know what they wanted from me? They just wanted to help me. I was miserable. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to turn. I had no purpose or direction. And these two gentlemen took their time out of their life. Did they feel like standing out in the cold? No, they didn't. Did they know if they were going to be able to help me or not? No, they didn't. But they offered their help. And they listened to me, and they spoke to me, and they gave me some opportunities for a solution to my miserable life, which I took. Now, that is love. They didn't want anything from me. They didn't want anything back from me. They just wanted the opportunity to help me. They didn't want me to go to their church. They didn't want me to go to their club. They didn't want any of that. They were just offering to help me for free and for fun. And that's where I first recognized love. And as I look back on my life, my parents, of course, I was a wild child, stubborn, rebellious, bullheaded. My parents, I know, didn't feel like they loved me. I'm sure Dad didn't feel like he loved me when I wrecked his truck and totaled it out. I'm sure my mom didn't feel like she loved me when I didn't total her car, but I wrecked her brand new Pontiac Le Mans, maybe? I can't remember what it was. Yeah. And many other things I did that I'm sure my parents didn't feel like they loved me. But they took the action. They did what love does. They took care of me until I was old enough to get out and make it on my own. And I could cite numerous other situations. But at the time, I didn't see it that way. It's only looking back in retrospect that I realized that they loved me. Now, they never told me they loved me till I started telling them after I was 30 years old. I never remember them hugging me. I never remember any signs of affection. My father I only remember seeing anger, except maybe for one time. But I still feel now, looking back, or think, I should probably use the word think, that they love me. Now, maybe they didn't love me the way I thought I needed to be loved or wanted to be loved, but they loved me the best way they could. Now, is that any less love than if they would have hugged me and told me they loved me and coddled me and treated me with importance and affection? I don't think so. I had a guy, I made a statement about this on a Facebook thread, and I had a guy write this 3, 4, 5 paragraph thing about love and codependency and all these things and unhealthy relationships and what love is. And not so much what love is, but all the illusions people have and how people mix up love with obsession, attachments, and these things. Well, I'm here to tell you, everybody has issues. If you're looking for the perfect, healthy relationship, you better go live in a different world, because there is no such thing, because everybody has issues. Most people have daddy issues, women. Most men, well, and even men have daddy issues. Most women have daddy issues and mommy issues, and the same with men, vice versa. So you're going to, if you think you're going to find a healthy relationship, some are healthier than others. Of course they are. Some people know how to deal with their emotions, their problems, their situations better than others because they were taught better. They saw examples growing up, so they've had some experience in what to do. Most people don't. But if you're expecting to find the perfect, healthy person to marry, you just well forget about that. But on the other hand, you don't want to get the person who's been raised up in a non-loving family where they didn't feel any kind of affection from anybody, and they have a lot of issues with maybe drugs, alcohol. They're trying to cover up a lot of pain, and the buzzword now is trauma that they've never dealt with. Most people have some kind of pain or discomfort or past experiences. I don't like to use the word trauma. Trauma to me is if I were in a car accident with my parents and they both got killed and I was 5 or 6 years old and I remember it vividly. That is a traumatic situation to me. But I've had many situations in my life that people would say were traumatic when I just look at them as a life experience, a learning experience, and I can perceive that however I choose to. I don't have to perceive it as traumatic. I had a bicycle accident one time when I was 13 years old. My kids are loud. Do I feel like I love my kids when they're being loud? And I asked them to be quiet, and I told them I was doing a video. No, I didn't. I don't feel like I love them at all. But I do, okay? I do love them. If they fell down the steps, of course, I would stop the video and go help them out best I could. If my neighbor was laying on the ground, who I don't like very much because she threatened to burn our house down, she's got some psychotic problems. But she's been doing really good for the last year. She's taken medicines and she's okay now. If she was laying out and fell down and broke her leg out there, would I go help her? Of course I would. Now, do I feel like I love her? No. Do I feel like I like her? Not really. But I'm going to help her. That's love of humanity. That's important. I would say you probably know people who you don't like very much. Maybe you even think you kind of hate them. But don't hate anybody because that hurts you and not them. I'll bet if you were driving down the road and they had an accident, you would stop and help them. Maybe you think you wouldn't, but I bet you would. I bet you would stop and help them. That's love. That's what real love is. You don't feel like helping them. Maybe you would like to just drive on by and laugh, but you stop and you help them. That is what love is. It's not this, oh God, I love her so much. Gosh, I just want to be with her. I can't live without her. It's not that. That's not love. That's infatuation. That's obsession. And we've all experienced that. Most of us have. I know I have more than once in my life. That's the romantic, I think what Shakespeare called the romantic love. Romeo and Juliet was not a love story that people should admire, but it was, yes, helping your fellow man, New Horizons. Thank you for the comment. Hard for me to see without my glasses because it's small on the screen. But yeah, helping your fellow man is very important. And as I said, we all are really just biologically or evolutionarily designed to do that. Even though we think in our conscious mind a lot of times, I wouldn't help that son of a bitch. I hope he has an accident. Yeah, you say that, but if you saw the man in trouble, more than likely, instinctively, you would help him. That's the way we're all made. We're all connected somehow. I don't understand that. I don't claim to. But you've probably been sitting around thinking about one of your friends or something. You haven't talked to him for a long time, and then all of a sudden the phone rings, and there he is, or they stop by. So how does that work? These things are not coincidences. Somehow or another, we are connected. And by helping your fellow man and doing acts of love, you're really just helping yourself. As I've said many times here, you can't do anything to someone or for someone that you're not doing that same thing to yourself or for yourself, and it comes back multiplicatively. It's the law of reaping and sowing. You get what you give and take. What goes around comes around, karma, all those things. It doesn't always manifest in your world immediately, but it does happen within you immediately. And eventually you will see it on the outside in your life. But back to the topic, which I almost forgot. Love. Let's see what else we have to say. What else? Another definition, a great interest and pleasure in something. You can love things. I love money. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, God, you love money? Love of money is the root of all evil. No, the correct translation, at least what I believe and what I've read, is the lust of money. I can love my car. I can love my wife. But if I'm lusting after my wife or lusting after money, then that is almost an obsession that takes over you, and it starts being the driving force in your life. It can be anything. It could be your cell phone. I mean, how many women are so in love with their cell phone that if they had a choice, they'd choose that between their boyfriend, over their boyfriend. I mean, they can't live without their phone, so they have an obsession. They have what they call, well, you could call it a love, but it's an unhealthy love or obsession for their cell phone. You can do the same thing with people, places, things, money, whatever it happens to be. I love what I can do with money. I love the good that I can do in the world with money. And I like to be able to travel and do what I want to do. So, of course, I love money. Now, do I put that above all else? No, I don't. I don't put it above God. I don't put it above my kids and my family. But I need it to provide for my family. I need it to do things for God, if you like. I'm not a religious guy, so I don't practice any religion. I use the word God as an energy. I did not catch that chat. Let me see if I can catch up with you here. Give me a minute, but I might not be able to see it here. I have not got too good with this live thing yet, but if I don't catch the trap when it comes up right away, it disappears. Gee whiz, let me see. Let me go down here. Bear with me. Something? No, okay, here I am. Let me grab it here. Turn the sound down. Unhealthy attachments. Loving something for the wrong reasons. Excuse me. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Unhealthy attachments. Remember, you could always just talk. Yeah, okay. Thanks. Appreciate that. Like I said, I'm not used to reading the comments and talking here at the same time. All right, we'll go back to the different manifestations of love. And feel deep affection for someone. He loved his sister dearly. I'm sure all of us have had family members that we loved dearly. I mean, I love mom and dad, but I would have to say that my grandmother I really had a deep affection for her. My mom and dad, it was just different with them. And sometimes it's hard to have that deep affection for your parents because they're the disciplinarians. They're the ones that have to, show you the right way and sometimes get on you for when you're going the wrong way. I know with my kids and I have a great relationship, but there's been times when I had to be the tough disciplinarian. Now, they told me later they appreciate it, but do you think they felt like they loved me when I was disciplining them? Probably not. So the feeling of love is what I'm talking about is fleeting. It comes and it goes. But to love is an act. It's a conscious act that you take or you make. Okay, another one is to like or enjoy something very much. So like here the example is I love dancing. I love riding motorcycles. I haven't done it for years, but from the time I was 10 years old until, gosh, I don't know, 13 years ago, 10 or something, I rode motorcycles. I loved riding motorcycles. It was just something that I enjoyed doing. And there again, it was an action. I loved riding them. I loved working on them. I love women. I love being with women. Now, is that a feeling? When I'm with a woman, it is a feeling, but that's kind of a physical feeling. There's a certain chemical release, I think they talk about, that you have when you're with a woman. Now, is that something that you can experience when I'm talking about the feeling that will be consistent and last for years? No, it's a feeling that I experience when I'm with a woman for a short period of time, maybe a weekend, maybe an evening, maybe just a few hours. And of course, we can talk about the sexual act. That is an intense feeling. A lot of you guys, and I did it too, it's real easy to feel like you're in love when you're making love to a woman. Now, I don't consider that love. I consider that an experience. But I will say this, for me as an older man now, the experience is much more intense and it actually develops a strong connection now that I'm older than it was when I was in my 20s. I could go jump with a girl, have sex with her, walk away, no big deal. Different story for me now because I'm more in touch with myself and who I am. And I don't like to just have sex with any random girl. I like to have some kind of a connection. Of course, I want to, be congruent with her personality. I could be with any number of many beautiful girls around the world, young, beautiful girls, but I don't do that because unless I feel there's something, like some type of connection that goes below the surface level of beauty, I'm just not interested. I just soon go and masturbate, which I don't do anymore, but I just soon do that. Of course, when we're young, we do a lot of that. Most of us do. Okay. So for me, it's an empty thing if I go that route. I don't choose to do that anymore. But if you're in your 20s, I understand how that is. And some of you guys, I will have to say this, if you're spending a lot of time watching porn and masturbating, that will really ruin your sex drive to be with a woman physically. And if you have never done that, or if you have only once or twice and you're opting out for porn and masturbation, you're really selling yourself short. I know there's a big fear, to approaching women and being with someone physically, but it's worth the price you pay. I'll say that. So learn game, learn how to do that. When I say game, I don't mean about manipulating girls or just trying to get them in bed. I mean to learn how girls think, the nature of women, and how you can interrelate with women in a, we'll say, a healthy way, or a way that is beneficial for you both. It's not about what you can get, it's about what you can give. But you don't want to be giving so much that you're codependent and they take advantage of you. And that's one of the reasons I like to be here, to talk about my experiences so you can learn from my mistakes and you can learn the nature of women, and you won't allow them to take advantage of you, nor do you need to be taking advantage of them. Because as I said earlier, what goes around comes around. So if you go out taking advantage of a lot of people, guess what's going to happen to you eventually? And it won't be very much fun when it comes back to pay you the visit. All right, so here we go. There are many sources that define many other kinds of love, but 4 is a pretty manageable number. And let's, eros, erotic, passionate love. That's what a lot of us experience now, I think, in the West, and we equate that with what I would call real love, which is the love of humanity, the love of your brother, when you help someone that's in trouble, even if you don't like him. Okay, this eros or erotic passionate love is more of a feeling. We might as well get that one out of the way first. That's the feeling. Oh, I'm so in love with her. You think about her all the time. When you're with her, it's almost like magic. Or when she's with you, it's like magic for her. That's the feeling that fades after a period of time. That's the infatuation stage. And that's where I said some of these people get married, and I'm sure men do it too, and all of a sudden they feel like, I don't feel like I'm in love anymore, because you've become familiar with the person. I don't believe in what people typically call karma. It's more of what you mentioned earlier. Yeah, I'm not real sure what the definition of karma is. I just say it as what goes around comes around. It comes back to you. I believe that we're made in such a way that I don't believe we're punished by God or karma or anything. I believe that what we do, somehow or another, we create situations in our future where we experience what we have done to others, so we can learn from it to understand how that person felt, so we can realize what we're actually, how we are treating other people, the impression that it makes on other people. I know for me, I used to cheat. I lied and cheated on my first wife. And of course, as you know, that came back to me. And then I understood how she must have felt. It's not so much a punishment, it's just something that, it's actually for us. It happens for ourselves so we can be more understanding, so we can understand ourselves, and we can understand the implications on others and ourselves of our actions. But the reason most people don't learn from that is they want to blame the other person. They never look in themselves and think, have I ever done this to someone? I used to think when I cheated on my first wife, I thought, well, she doesn't know, it doesn't hurt her. Well, it may not have hurt her, but it was hurting me, because I was storing up things to come back to me so I could find out what that experience was like for her. So I look at it as a teacher, not a form of punishment or retribution, but something to teach us so we can learn more about ourselves. And as we learn more about ourselves, we learn more about others. Because as I said, somehow we're all interconnected in a way that if we work together and we help each other, we're helping ourselves. Whatever I'm imparting to you today is helping me. Whatever I share with you with the intention of helping you is helping me. And actually it helps me more, as much or more than it helps you. That's one of the reasons I started the YouTube channels, because I learned in life that whenever I put out effort, intent to help someone else, even if they don't get helped, I am rewarded by my intent. And it comes back to me. Whatever I teach, I learn more about. It reinforces the ideas upon myself and thus helps me. So if you really want to learn something, teach it to someone else. Okay. Phila, love of friends and equals. Storge, I guess that's a love of parents for children. And agape is love of mankind. And that's what New Horizons and I were talking about earlier, the love of mankind, the love of humanity. The love of humanity. That's like, let's say, the Titanic. The men went down with the ship so the women and the children could survive. That was more of a love of humanity. You could say, well, they were probably because they were husbands, but not all of them were husbands. Those men willingly gave their lives for the weaker. A lot of women aren't going to like that. For the weaker sex, the women and the children, of course, they're weaker, so they could survive. So that is love of mankind. What else could you call that? What about when soldiers go to war willingly that are not drafted and they give their lives for their country, for their fellow man? Unfortunately, they're killing other men, but their intention is to give their lives for their fellow countrymen. That's a form of love too, although killing each other is not a form of love. I don't believe we can actually kill each other. We kill the body. We don't kill who we are, but that's a topic that's up for debate among some people. But whatever works for you, whatever you believe. Okay, let me see what else they had to say about love. I had something else. Oh, the agape love. Greek agape in the New Testament, the fatherly love of God for humans. Okay, now, as well as the human reciprocal love for God. Transcendent agape love is the highest form of love and is contrasted with eros and erotic love and philia or brotherly love. Well, that gets into religion. So, there's one more thing. The truest form of love is how you behave towards someone, not how you feel about them. And this goes back to what I said originally. In marriage, the truest form of love is how you behave towards someone. It has nothing to do with how you feel about them. And as a man, you should be able to control your feelings. That is a characteristic of a man. I've watched some of these YouTube guys. Excuse me. I've watched some of these YouTube guys. Specifically, I'm thinking about the guy that was debating with Andrew Tate. And he was yelling, and maybe he's just doing it for show to get subscribers. I'm not sure, but he was throwing a fit like a woman when she got all freaked out, and he was yelling and screaming. And that is not a characteristic of a manly man. You need to learn how to control your emotions. There's a time and a place for things like that, but he was screaming and hollering. Yeah, you saw that. But maybe it was just for show. I'm not sure. But as a man, when it goes back to the truest form of how you behave towards someone, not how you feel. I see a lot of men nowadays expressing their feelings, and I'm all about expressing your feelings in the proper place. There's a time and a place for everything. I'll give you an example. I've used this before about men sharing their feelings. Okay, you're a man, you've been married for 5-10 years, you got 2 or 3 kids, you got a stay-at-home wife, you're living the traditional family, the nuclear family, okay, which people think I'm from the 13th century when I talk about this, but it works pretty well, for kids especially. All right, so you go to work one day, you've been working at this place since before you were married, you get 6 figures a year. You go in there, and unbeknownst to you, the company has fallen apart practically overnight. Your boss comes up to you and says, I'm sorry, John, but we got to let you go. I'm giving you your 2 weeks notice. I mean, you're like you got hit in the head with a hammer. You're freaking out. You don't say anything. Okay. You understand that that's just the way it is. So you go and you finish your day at work. All day you're worried to death about, you just bought a new house, right? You don't know how you got a pretty good house payment, but you knew with your job, you had plenty of money to pay for it. Everything was going to be great. But now you've lost your job. And it's a specialized skill that you have, and there are no openings in your city. Maybe you can get a job somewhere else in the country or another part of the world, but you don't know where. So you're like really worried about it. Now, as a man, do you come home and share your feelings with your wife and your kids? Your kids are 7, 8, 10 years old, let's say. Do you come home and tell them that you're scared shitless? You don't know what you're going to do? You're afraid you're going to lose the house. You don't know where you're going to find a job like that. Is that what you do? Is that what a man does? Your wife and your kids are looking to you to be their strength. I guarantee you, if you come home and do that, you're going to put fear in your wife and your kids, uncertainty. Now, is that what a man does? Is that woman going to admire you more for being vulnerable and sharing your feelings? I hardly think so. Yeah, what's going to happen is she may not leave you, of course. She may not cheat on you, but that's going to be the beginning of a little disrespect for you. She's going to lose faith in you because she's always looked to you for strength and hope. And you come home and you fall apart in front of her, you're crying, you're telling her how worried you are, how you're not going to make it, because that's how you truly feel. And you're sharing your heart with her. You're being vulnerable with her. To me, that's a very selfish act. You don't say that. You know what you do when you come in? I don't give a shit how you feel. You tell your wife, hey, honey, I lost the job today, but you know I'm good at what I do. I've always taken care of us, and I will continue to do so. Don't worry about it. I got this. All right, now that's not how you feel, but that's what you're going to do as a man. Now, later on, after supper, you go talk to your best friend or your mentor, and you cry in front of him. You share all the feelings you're really having because he's not dependent on you for your strength. He understands. So he's going to listen to you and tell you what you need to do. Now, he's not going to listen to you cry every goddamn day, but he's going to listen to you and he's going to offer suggestions, or maybe he's just going to listen to you and help you find the answers you need within yourself. There's a proper time and place for a man to be vulnerable and to share his feelings, and there's a time and a place not to do it. It's not to be done in front of your wife or your kids. I'm not saying you shouldn't or couldn't shed a tear if your mom died or something like that. But if you go falling apart, I mean, when my mom died, I probably cried, I don't know how many times after she died, but I did it in private because we had to go out and take care of her house. I had to rehab that. I had to sell it. And I got a lot of emotions when I was out there. But I did the grieving process, which it's important to grieve. I'm not talking about stuffing your feelings. I'm talking about controlling your emotional nature and allowing it to come out in a proper time and place, not to be dictated by the environment or the situation that's going on in front of you, but to be able to control that feeling inside of you and express it in a proper time where it doesn't affect other people negatively. That's what I'm talking about. And as a man, you should be able to control your emotional nature. I see a lot of that nowadays, not just the guy on the Andrew Tate thing where he was screaming and hollering, but at the baseball games now, if one of the pitchers hits the batter, the whole dugout empties out and goes into a rage and starts a big fight. What's up with that? They didn't used to do that. Or the basketball players getting into a fight. It's like they can't control their emotional natures. It's almost like the societal agenda is pushing us to express ourselves, I can't read it before it goes off. Trying to express ourselves, I lost my train of thought. But it's like the society is trying to get men to be more like women, to express themselves, to be vulnerable. If you look up the word vulnerable, it means to allow yourself to be open for attack. Why would you want to do that? I mean, vulnerability does not attract the opposite sex. Exactly the opposite attracts the opposite sex. Being a strong man, being the mountain, being the rock, somebody she can lean on when she goes through her emotional storms of life, which women have more so than men. Now, if you guys, I've been in a lot of long-term relationships, and you know how women get when it's their time of the month. I've had women tell me, don't pay any attention to me. You know how I am when I'm on my period, when it's my days. They get erratic. They can't think straight because of their hormones. I don't know the chemical imbalances or what actually happens there. I just know what happens to them. And they get very irate. They can hate you one minute, love you the next. They can be yelling at you for something you didn't even do. And as a man, you just have to ignore this. So what? You just go out and do something out in the yard or go out to your man cave or whatever. If she wants to talk in a reasonable manner, of course you listen to her. You don't have to offer solutions, just listen to her. But if she's being irate and disrespectful, then you walk away from her and say, when you calm down, I'll be willing to talk to you, but I'm not going to listen to you talk to me disrespectfully. Just walk away from her. You cannot allow these things to move you, nor does she want you to allow these things to move you. She wants to know that you can take whatever happens to, whatever comes to your life, whatever storms come along, and she may give you the worst storms. If you can't take her storms, how can you take the other storms that are surely going to come to you in life and still stand and be there for her and the children? She wants to know, and they may ask you this. I've had 2 women, maybe 3, ask me this that I was in long-term relationships with. What would you do if I died? Well, I would be sad, of course, but I would go on. Well, you'd go find somebody else. You wouldn't even care. No, I would care, but life goes on. That's what they want to hear. Now, they may act like that pisses them off because you seem like you're going to be fine. But do they want to be with a man that's going to fall apart after they die? What's going to happen to the kids? She wants to know if something happens to her, that her offspring and your offspring are going to be taken care of by you. And if you fall apart and you pull this shit about, I can't live without you. I don't know what I'd do if you weren't here. Her attraction will drop to 0. That's why when you guys supplicate to women, when you beg women, when you act like you can't live without them, when you say you're going to zero yourself out if they don't talk to you or they go out with somebody else or all the other things that men do and young men do to try to, I guess, get the sympathy of a woman, they hate that crap. That makes them despise you, contrary to what you want. You think that it's going to make them feel sorry for you and love you. She's not your mommy. She's never going to be your mommy. She doesn't want to be your mommy. She wants to be your lover. She wants to be your girl. So don't think she's going to treat you like your mommy treated you or like you wanted your mommy to treat you. She's not there to be your mom. Remember that. You need to be the man that all men want to be like and the man that all women want to be with. That's something else. She'll act like she gets pissed off when someone flirts with you, but I'll guarantee you that keeps her attraction for you at an optimal level. She wants to know other women want you. Think about you. Don't you want things other people want? How would you like to have a Lamborghini? Why do you want that? Everybody wants it. Not everybody. A lot of people want a Lamborghini or a Ferrari. It's popular. It's an item wanted by a lot of people and few people have. Okay, she has you. She likes to think that other girls want you because she has the prize. Now, do you think you're the prize? If you don't, I guarantee you, she's not going to think you're the prize. But let's get back to love. I was talking to this guy about how I've had women. Somebody posted something about, I don't know, about a ride or die woman. And I was saying, yes, I've had women. I had one woman locked up for 30 days, and all she had to do was snitch on me, and she would have got out. She didn't do it. I had another woman leave her family. I don't know if you can hear that dog barking, but my son got a new dog. But we will press on. I had another one leave her family to be with me. I had another one leave her school to be with me. I've had women leave their jobs to be with me, and these relationships lasted a long time. But it was because I was being the man that you need to be to have women attracted to you. Now, on the reverse side, and I could go on and on about the things these women did for me. They were loyal, they were faithful, they were ride or die. Okay, but now on the reverse side, when I turned about 31 or 32, I started trying to treat women the way that society or the narrative of society tells us how we should treat them. 3 marriages, they all cheated on me. They all got to where they disrespected me because I was the good father, the good husband. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be a good father or a good husband. What I am saying is this narrative they put out, this ideology they put out about what a good father and a good husband is. I think it's put out by the women of our nation. That is not what they're attracted to. That is not what they want to stay with. They're not satisfied with that type of man. Okay, so you need to remember that. What they say works doesn't work. You got to watch and see what women are attracted to, not what they say they want. Look at what they chase after. Look at what they want to be with. Look at what they write the romantic novels about. Men watch porn. Women read porn. Read some of those stories. Read some of those romantic love stories. That is a #1 bestseller for women, is romantic love stories. I wouldn't actually call it romance. I would call it porn and writing. It's basically what it is. So many of us men are afraid to treat women the way they want to be treated because we've been raised in a society that told us how to treat them, which really doesn't even work at all. It sounds good, it sounds logical, but try to mix women and logic, it just doesn't work too well. Who was it? Jack Nicholson. They asked him how he understood women so well, and he said, I just think of a man and I take away logic and reasoning. That may not be verbatim, but you get the picture. And it's true, they don't think like you and I think. And you guys need to remember that. They don't think like you. So if you go treating a woman the way you want to be treated, guess what? She's not going to like it because she doesn't want to be treated like you want to be treated in a relationship. You need to remember that. If I could pound something into your head, it's that. She doesn't want to be treated the way you want to be treated. Nice guys finish last with women. Nice women finish first with men. Now, I'm not telling you to treat women badly. I'm just telling you not to treat them the way you logically think they want to be treated. I know it's counterintuitive, but think about this. When you text your woman, you like it when she texts you right back. You like that, don't you? Okay. A lot of times a woman doesn't want you to text her right back. She may even tell you, why don't you text me right back? I had one tell me once, why don't you say good morning? I'm always saying good morning and good evening. You don't say it. Now, us men, we think, well, yeah, okay, well, I understand. I'll do that. And then you start to do that, and then she stops texting you good morning and good evening. Well, it doesn't make sense. You're doing what she asked you to do, but now she's quit doing it to you. And you notice she's not as responsive as she used to be. How can that be? Because you're thinking logical. She doesn't want you to respond to her text right away. She doesn't want you to say good morning and good evening every night, even though she does, even though she tells you that's what she wants. You got to get rid of logic when you think of women. If nothing, you can use logic to change yourself, and your willpower to change yourself and change the way you think about women. Learn women's nature. They like to wonder about you. They like to wonder why you're not texting them right back. They like to think you're too busy to talk to them. No woman wants you to put her on a pedestal, contrary to what you've learned here in the West. She doesn't want that. And if you do it, she will despise you. No woman wants to be treated like a queen or a little princess, even though many of them will say that. Try that. See how that works out for you. It doesn't work. So how should you treat women? Never put them first. They don't want to be first. You want to be first, and you need to be put first. Now, I know a lot of women are going to say, well, that's bull crap. You want me to treat you, put you first, but you won't put me first. Because she doesn't want you first, but you need to be the first thing in her life. You need to be that. A man's emotional need is for her to put the relationship above everything else. Now, that's not what you need to do for her, and she doesn't want you to do that. Your God, your higher self, your whatever it is to you, if you have that, or your self-centeredness, that should be first. Now, I'm not talking about selfishness, okay? Second should be your goal, your mission, your job, or whatever it happens to be. Your woman should be third or fourth down on the list. Now, that sounds degrading. Some people, especially modern young men and women, would think that's degrading, but that's where she wants to be. Does it make sense? No, it doesn't. Not in our logical minds, but that's where she wants to be. And that's where it works the best. I've been there. I know how it works. I've done both. I put the woman in too much of an important spot, and they don't even know why they start disliking you. They don't even know why they start disrespecting you, but they do. They don't understand it themselves. But whenever you put them in a place of importance above your job, your God, yourself, whenever you sacrifice important things that are important to you to make them happy, let's say, they become less happy. They are happy when you're happy, pursuing your goals, your mission, being fulfilled by doing that. That's when they're happy. They live, or they feed off of your happiness. So if you try to make her happy, what is it? Happy wife, happy life? That's bullcrap. Good man, good life, good wife. There you go. A good man does what he's supposed to do. He's here to accomplish something that is bigger than himself, that is bigger than her, that is bigger than his family. He has to put his mission, his goals first above everything. Something you need to remember. I know that's contrary to probably what you've been told if you're a young man, but that's how it works. Look at the most successful people in the world. Some of these people have had long-term relationships. They're not sitting around spending most of their time trying to figure out how they can make their wife happy. They're out there doing what they came here to do, pursuing that desire that each of us have deep within ourselves. And until we start pursuing that as men, the women around us won't be happy, nor will you attract very many women. Always put that first, okay? When it comes to your family and your woman. And guess what? When you put that first and you're fulfilled and you succeed, who benefits? Your family. You become more successful if they support you and encourage you, and they become more successful. What do they say? Crap runs downhill? Well, the good stuff does too. Okay, well, I didn't plan on talking this long, but I did. So I'm going to get off here. I got some things to do, and I am running late today. Thanks for joining me. If you'd like to get my help personally, check out my website at marksinspiration.com. Sign up for the newsletter, which I haven't started yet. But as soon as people start signing up for it, I will start putting one out. Maybe I should start putting one out first. Yeah, there you go. Everybody wants a crop, but nobody wants to plant seed. Guess I better plant the seed first. All right, take care. Once again, thank you. 1,417 subscribers. Glad you're here. Share this with a friend. Bring some friends along. We're all on this journey together. Have a great day. Oh.